Proxying magic cards is a topic that has been going on for a while. I don't know. I only really started looking into it like a couple of years ago. But what's the difference between me, owning a copy of the One Ring and just making a proxy off it off of proxy.com? How's it going, everyone? I'm Kojo Denojo. Welcome to the Foolish Phantasm. And today we're talking about proxied magic cards, but not in the way that literally everybody else is doing. If you go on YouTube for even just a couple minutes and type in Magic the Gathering proxy cards, you'll find videos of how to make your own proxy cards. You'll find many videos of people talking about the ethics of using proxies in your Magic the Gathering decks. And these videos kind of just boil down to, if your group is cool with using proxies, then you proxy. Alright, cool. But there's always still a discussion on if you should or shouldn't, what formats you're playing, if you're playing competitive, and all that other fun factors into it. Largely speaking, this is coming from the perspective of Commander players looking to just get one copy of a card that's like $90 that they don't want to spend $90 for. Understandable, because $90 can be the difference between paying your rent that month or putting food on the table. Why would you spend it on cardboard that if you don't draw out of the 99 cards in your deck, you're going to feel kind of silly, or, anything else like that. So largely speaking, like I said, most people are cool with proxies. We're just going to assume that if you're watching this video, that your group is cool with proxying, or you're trying to convince them to allow you to proxy, and here are some ways that may open some people up to the idea of allowing proxies at their table. So today, I'm going to offer you 3 different proxy rulings that you can introduce to your group, so that way when you guys say that you're making proxies, you guys have an understanding of what that actually means. Think of it as almost like the bracket system, that when you sit down at a table and you say, we're playing bracket 3 decks, everyone has an understanding of that. The same way with how you would want to say, okay, I have some proxies in my deck. That way your group has that same level of understanding, hopefully anyway, with what that actually means. The first one is there are no rules. You can proxy whatever you want. You can proxy, game changers. You can proxy, CEDH level decks. You can proxy literally any card that already exists in Magic the Gathering, or even custom cards if your group is cool with it. Now, this may sound like a duh thing, but the reason I want to bring this up is that when it comes to proxying, a lot of people kind of feel bad that they can just print out any card they want, and they often may put restrictions on themselves. So I think it's worth noting a system where you communicate with your friends that you guys are proxying and there is no limit. You can print out entire decks. You can print out any card that is just beyond your budget, or is just something you don't feel like going to get. One of the things I proxy are lands that I own because I just don't feel like going to find my third stomping ground that's probably in another deck that I don't even know where that is. So I just go ahead and proxy a stomping ground instead of buying another one. So when it comes to this type of setup, when it comes to your proxy ruling with your group, this is again assuming that your group is cool with you proxying anything. You want to make that Belbay, whatever her name is, Eldrazi commander, go right ahead. You want to play a deck that uses the most expensive cards in the game? Congratulations, it's now at your fingertips and your printer's capacities. So that's just one, probably the simplest way of doing it. You just proxy and you proxy whatever you want. It would really be no different than if you just had a limitless budget and you could buy any card you want. So I think this is again worth mentioning because there are just some people out there that when a new card comes out, they just go ahead, swipe their credit card or debit card or pay cash, and they just buy the card. Really, what I'm getting at, they just buy the card. So that's probably the simplest way to go into it. Let's move on to. I want you guys to just see the picture. So that's why I'm. That picture. I wanted you guys to see the picture, so I moved a little bit. We all recognize the smothering tithe. Anyway, the next way you could make a ruling for proxies for your group is set up a actual budget for the proxies. Sometimes when you go to buy a card or multiple cards for your Magic the Gathering decks, you often feel like this guy from Smothering Tithe, and that's what we really want to avoid, is that feeling of just coughing up all that extra coin. I'm now going to move back, so give me 2 seconds. I just wanted you guys to see the picture of Smothering Tithe back there. Anyways, this ruling may be a little silly because if you're already working with a budget, then why not just go get the cards? Well, let me put it this way. Let's say you have a $200 budget, okay, for your proxies. So what's the difference between a $200 budget with real Magic cards versus $200 with proxies? What I mean by that is that if you have a card, let's say that's worth $60. Let's look at Badger Mole Cub, for example. If you were to buy an actual Badger Mole Cub, that's $60, and you have $140 that you still have left over. But you just spent $60 on one card. Now, using the proxy method, you have $200 of budget. This is where we're using air quotes now, because you're not actually buying the Badger Mole Cub. But from that $200, you're subtracting 60 and using this proxy. And the proxy doesn't even have to be one of those printed proxies you can get off of many different websites, or you don't have to do what I'm doing where I'm actually making the proxies with laminators and rotary cutters and all that. You can literally just get a piece of paper, write Badger Mole Cub, and you're good to go. But you're still using the budget system, so that way it gives you a limitation on what you're allowed to proxy versus what you're not allowed to proxy. You could print one card that's $200, or you can print a bunch of cards that equate to $200. In this method, you can even get an entire commander deck for virtually free, or at least a fraction of the price if you're going to do the whole printing thing like I'm doing. But again, the reason this method is different and why I think could work is because, you're not actually buying the cards. You're setting yourself with essentially a fake limit because you're not using real money. Yes, you have a $200 limit, but you're not spending any money. Again, you could do this method by just writing on a piece of paper, Badger Mole Cub, and then slip it in a sleeve with a rat token or something, and you didn't spend $60. You didn't even spend $5 to print a proxy out. You took a piece of paper from a notebook and slipped it in, and that was it. And now that's still $60 off of your budget. See what I'm getting at? So you can still spend $200 worth of Magic cards without actually spending $200 worth on Magic cards. The third way you can work with proxies in your group is instead of having a budget or just doing whatever you want, have a card amount limit. So you can say there's a 10 proxy limit or a 5 proxy limit on your decks, and that could be another way of doing it as well. One of my LGSs actually has a commander night where they do allow proxies, and that is their rule. They say you can't have more than 10 proxies in your deck. I think there also is a little bit more, but on paper it says just 10 proxies per deck. And this is a way so that way you're still mostly playing with regular Magic cards, but if you want to play test a couple cards here and there, or before you make a bulk order on some kind of expensive stuff, you can get these 10 cards. Or again, if you just don't have the budget to get these 10 cards, like I said, I keep using Badger Mole Cub as an example because I would really like one. It is something that you could use as a way to play with the card without actually getting the card. But again, you're not worrying about the budget of your deck because as prices change with Magic the Gathering cards, you may find yourself updating your decks, which is still fun in and of itself if you like that type of thing. But if you're just like, nah, I just want to throw proxies in and not worry about pricing, then maybe this limiter is a way to help you do that without having to go with the first method where there are no limits and you don't feel like you're just, wiping people out with the best decks in the format. So those are 3 ways to do proxying with your group, and you can alter these rules as you see fit. In method number 2, I mentioned a $200 budget with your decks with proxying. Maybe you can up that to $300. Maybe you could drop it down to $100. That way, again, you can make it different for each deck or just your group, maybe more comfortable with certain things. If you want to do something with the list method, like I mentioned, number 3, then you can do that as well, where instead of 10, maybe you could do half the deck. You could maybe just do 5 cards. So that way, it's the 5 most expensive cards that your deck could support. But, it's only 5 cards. Are you really going to draw them in your 99 deck of Commander? Probably if you proxying tutors or have tutors. And even with the method number 1, if you want to alter it in a way that, so let's say you are doing unlimited proxies, but maybe there is a limit. Maybe you have your own personal ban list. Maybe you guys have certain things you just don't want in the game, stuff like that. You could say you could proxy whatever you want. You could print out your whole deck, except we don't like theft decks. That's me. I don't like theft decks. There you go. That's the limiter right there too. All in all, proxying has become much more open in Magic the Gathering, especially with this year coming up being that we have 7 sets coming out, 4 of which are Universes Beyond. It's going to be expensive to play Magic the Gathering this year, but it doesn't have to be. You can just make your proxies and use those, or be very careful and cautious with your spending. I know. I can't either. But we gotta try, okay? But Any case, when it comes to proxying, I hope this video gave you some ideas on how to let your group feel more comfortable with proxying, because not every group is cool with proxying cards. In my group, we have a few people that are cool with proxying. We have a couple of people that are not cool with proxying, or they just don't want to proxy themselves. And that's perfectly valid too. So really, again, as the many videos on YouTube will suggest or tell you, talk to your group first. Don't just come up with a 100% printed out deck and assume everyone's cool with it. Even if you only got like a couple cards in there, make it known that you've got some proxies in there. Like when I roll up with my Boomy deck, I tell them I have like 5 proxies in here because I refuse to pay $30 for an Earthbending student or whatever it is right now. Or I refuse to buy a Badgermole cub. There you go. And if they don't like it, always have backups. Bring another deck with you or bring cards to swap out for those proxies. It may not be the deck you want to play exactly, but it is at least a playable deck. All right? So, like I said at the beginning of the video, if you have other ways that your group does proxying, I would love to know down below how you do it, because I think it's a great way to tell people, like, you know, or help people understand that proxying doesn't mean you're going to print out the best deck in the format. Could you? Yeah, sure you could. But remember, Commander is a very weird format in that it's not about just stomping the entire table, unless, again, the group was cool with that. It's about your decks doing their thing. If you want to print out a, you know, bracket 1 pony deck, go right ahead. I don't see a problem with that. You know, or if you're someone who's new to Magic the Gathering and you don't want to spend hundreds of dollars on cards, proxying may be a way to go too, so where you can at least play the game without dropping hundreds of dollars on cardboard. So I do hope that this video helped people out. I would love to share this information with as many people as possible, and I would love to hear your guys' perspectives on proxying and what your groups do. Leave a comment down below. And thanks for stopping by the Foolish Phantasm. So go out there, have some fun, and make some great stories. And don't forget, proxy that copy of the One Ring. It's okay. It is okay. Or a Blightsteel Colossus. Or that other dragon that I can't remember off the top of my head. Here's a picture of it. Print proxies. Do it. It'll be funny.